All right, when it comes to trolling whiny liberals, no one's better at it than Donald J. Trump. The sombreros on Schumer and Jeffries, the Democrats bowing to him like loyal subjects, you know, those memes. But now foreign leaders are helping him.
It is really beautiful. I'd like to wear it right now.
Everyone's in on the joke, effectively laughing at the No Kings loons. But this doesn't stop the usual suspects from trying to induce panic about future elections.
Trump is sending military into the streets of American cities, in part to intimidate people from participating in the democratic process.
You know who told us he was going to be a dictator on day one, and damn if he isn't a dictator.
I actually have come to the conclusion that he is most definitely going to try to remain in power.
I don't think Donald Trump wants another election.
Okay, these TDS patients are simply giving Trump new trolling ideas.
I have my highest poll numbers that I've ever had. And, you know, based on what I read, I guess I'm not allowed to run. So we'll see what happens. And I would say that if you read it, it's pretty clear I'm not allowed to run. It's too bad. But we have a lot of great people.
2028. And like clockwork, of course, the media doesn't see that he's trolling them and jumps all over it.
The Trump 2028 cap is one of the most popular that's ever been produced, and he has a good time with that, trolling the Democrats whose hair is on fire about the very prospect.
By the way, those hats are great stocking stuffers for all of your aggrieved liberal friends. Think about it. Here to discuss, Katie Miller, host of the great Katie Miller podcast, and Ned Ryan, American Majority CEO. All right, Katie, this MSNBC panel you heard me talking about during the break yesterday included this candidate for Colorado Attorney General. She's the current Secretary of State running for Attorney General, and she's very, very worried about voter intimidation. Watch.
Donald Trump has escalated his attacks on our democracy. He is trying to grab power ahead of 2026. We are in a very dangerous spot for our democracy. We had already planned for these scenarios in 2020. We need the American people to stay in this fight. This is folks who believe in rule of law, in democracy, and our election standing firm against this assault on our nation. 2026 is potentially a juncture in the road, a turning point.
A juncture in the road, Katie. She looks absolutely terrified, that woman.
Why would Republicans try to cancel the midterms when we know we're going to win the midterms? Democrats have no platform, no candidates, no policy. President Trump has completed every single one of his platform commitments from the GOP convention last summer. Democrats know they've lost. We see CNN saying Republicans are never doing better because of the shutdown, right? And when CNN is saying that, you know it's bad for Democrats.
Hey, Ned, I'm watching this woman, and I'm in my room howling laughing. I was like, does anyone else think this is funny? I hope I'm not the only person laughing when I'm watching Ms. Griswold. But I think they are just out of gas, Ned. They are out of gas, out of ideas. Katie's right.
All they have to offer right now is fear. And I think they're trying to keep their base in a state of perpetual fear to manipulate them and somehow try and motivate them for the midterms. But none of it's based in reality. I mean, Trump's no king, democratically elected twice. He's not running a third time. But I think behind it all, Laura, is true fear, because they realize there are existential threats to Democratic's political power moving forward. And by that, I mean, I think we're going to win the redistricting wars this year. I think people should be aware of the Supreme Court case, Louisiana versus Calais, in which if they address the Section 2 of the Voting Rights Act, it could result in 19 more Republican seats before the midterms. And so I think you're seeing behind some of this fear-mongering is real fear that they might be out of political power for a very long time to someone that they just cannot get their heads around with Donald Trump.
Katie, do you think the Korean president gave the crown to him knowing what the firestorm that would set off? I mean, I think it's kind of cheeky, don't you? I mean, a crown, I mean, I love it.
It's perfectly on point. I mean, I know who I'm voting for in the 2028 elections. Don't you, Laura? It's obviously President Trump.
But the way he spars with the press, and he does it with a little Reagan-esque twinkle in his eye. He has that kind of, well, they say I can't. I guess there's a constitutional provision.
I guess I can run as vice president.
I guess. But he's clearly having fun. Now, you were there in the first term. You know the pressure of that first term. It was very difficult, a whole host of reasons. He is having a great time, even through the difficult moments of this term.
I've never seen President Trump having more fun, enjoying what he's doing in the Oval Office more than he is now, right? In the first term, he started with Russia, Russia, Russia,
Right.
and there was always
Mike
a hoax,
Flynn.
always something, right? But in this term, what he's doing is fulfilling the promises he made to the American people, because this time he knows how the bureaucracy works, and it's working for him.
Yeah, it's working for him, Ned, and all they're left to do is talk about, the East Room, the East Wing. What are we going to do without these people? Wouldn't even know what the East Wing looked like. Okay?
Where are they taking the dirt?
Yeah, they take the dirt, the trees that came. I mean, they're melting down over the East Wing, and meanwhile, he's rebuilding the whole geopolitical landscape right now.
Correct. And if this isn't too much for them, Laura, think about if we keep the White House in 28 and we are in control of the 2030 census and we add the citizenship question and make it illegal for the Census Bureau to use the differential privacy algorithm, and we have a real census, all of a sudden another 25 to 40 Republican seats and electoral votes move into red states. And at that point, you'll see a seismic political shift that we've not seen maybe in the last century here in this country. And so we're just getting warmed up. And I love the fact that Trump is just plowing right ahead. He's continuing with the agenda. He's being successful. He's not letting Republicans cave on this shutdown in regards to health care for illegal aliens.
Good.
I think he has stiffened the backbone of them. And I think we're going to keep on seeing more and more success leading into the midterms next year.
Well, what was it? Differential privacy algorithm? Is that what you said? Was that what it was,
Yep.
Ned? That should be on a T-shirt.
Yeah, it was.
Let's make those. Made in America, of course.
The Census Bureau used it to manipulate the data.
I'm just having some fun with the terminology, Ned. Ned's so serious. I mean, obviously, you're 100% right, but
All he's saying-
differential, like you throw that out there like the whole country knows what that means. But I see what you're saying, and I am also optimistic. But this is going to be a fight, Katie. I mean, the left is still well-funded. They still have billionaires on their side. They still have a lot of mojo and passion among some young people. But as we're seeing at this Turning Point event tonight, I know you're close with Erica Kirk, as am I. The energy among the young people, I think, is turning to prosperity, peace, and a new way forward. And that's with the Trump agenda. That's not with the old agenda.
No, tonight Erica Kirk is going to call on Gen Z and say that they're the courageous generation. Because I know when I was in college, not so long ago, it was not cool to be a college Republican. In college, you want to do the cool thing, right? You want your friends and be part of that in crowd.
I never wanted to be the cool, but that's okay.
And what Turning Point is doing is making it fun and cool and attractive to be a conservative. And that's what we need. If we're going to raise Americans to share our morals and values and be part of our moral fabric that creates and has more babies and gets married and creates contributions to our economy and doesn't just take off government benefits, right? Isn't just importing more illegal aliens, isn't just for importing more illegal voters. What you want to do here is what Turning Point is doing, is motivating the next generation.
And Ned, I like that, the idea of an optimistic future where America is the leader, not the follower, and where in our families we demonstrate that optimism by people going out, getting married, having children, and loving their country again. That patriotic capitalism. That's a good thing. I think it's time to do the pursuit of happiness thing. We don't do enough of that. We talk a lot about the fights, but how about pursuing happiness? Trump seems to want to do that too.
Pursuing happiness, embracing patriotism, love of country. It's a message of hope and optimism. You know, juxtapose that against the fear that I was just describing earlier coming from Democrats. It's a great message, and it's optimism for all Americans, that his economic policies, everything that he is doing is going to benefit everyone, regardless of race or gender, that we can all be safe, we can be prosperous, and we can climb to even greater heights of freedom and prosperity. It's a great message, and that's why I think it's resonating more and more among the younger generations. They realize we can have hope for the future. We can have a prosperous, safe future, and Donald Trump's implementing that right now.
Katie, don't you think a good deal for this reopening the government would include, okay, we will kick a little more money into Obamacare, but it's only to cover Trump derangement syndrome?
That would be something, wouldn't it?
Right? I mean, for the illegal alien. Yeah, that would be a lot of money, though, Ned, right? That's a lot.
I don't know if it's curable at this point.
Actually, it's an incurable disease. It's not covered. But it is a pre-existing condition, correct? It's unfortunate.
True.
Katie, Ned, great to see both of you tonight. We'll be watching Erica in just a few moments.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.